Okay. Let me start.
Okay. Hi, welcome everyone to the Kingston Police Services Board meeting dated June 17th, 2021. We'll start with if there's any disclosure of conflict of interest. No? Okay. Can I get a approval of the agenda for today? Jeff, Christian? Thank you. And can I get a motion to adopt, or not a motion, but the adoption of the minutes from the last meeting held on May 20th, 2021? Jeff? Bridget, thank you very much. Very good. Then we're going to go into the communications piece of our meeting. From the Ministry of the Solicitor General. First on the agenda is the provincial antigen screening program. Angie, if you could.
Yeah, so the police can now apply to receive the free rapid antigen testing for COVID-19 through the new screening program that we have, and they're free. Now, Inspector Funnell was in charge of rolling this program out within the Kingston Police. And so we've been doing it for about 1 month now. So it's been actually well accepted. We have it every Wednesday from 6:30 to 10:30, and we've had just under 100 people that have been tested, and we've been negative. So I think it's a well-received program within the organization, and I understand others are doing it as well. So welcome news.
Yeah, very good. Well, that's cool that it's a lot of negative results. That's good. Okay, next is the launch of the OIPRD.
Yeah, so this is a website, a service page on the OIPRD website, and that allows public access to statistical information that they're obtaining. And you can get information about each of the different police services and data from as of December 31st, 2020.
Okay, that's already in use, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, any questions from anyone? No, good. We next have the collection of occurrence data related to animals left in motor vehicles.
So the PAWS enforcement model has been in effect since January 1st, 2020. And it's where animal welfare inspectors have been appointed across the country. Police officers have the authority under Section 60 of the Act to exercise powers. And so with respect to regarding pets and hot cars, they're asking the public to call 911 if they see an animal that's in distress. And under the Act, that the police are able to enter motor vehicles and remove the animals in distress, as well as the animal welfare inspectors. They're able to do that as well. So at this point in time, the ministry was seeking one-time voluntary submission of occurrences related to animals that were in distress for the years of 2018, 2019, and 2020.
Very good. Next is the 2021 promotional exams.
Yes, so the Ontario Police College promotional exams have taken place already on June the 13th. Kingston was a designated place for attendance, and we had just over 41 candidates that attended, and we held it at St. Lawrence College.
Okay.
So there are candidates from across Eastern Ontario.
Including Kingston?
Yes, that's correct.
Right, okay. And then we're going to talk about the basic constable training program allocation request for September 15th to December 9th.
Yes, so we've asked for 5 spots for the September intake in order to hire for the next retirements that are starting between the end of January or end of July to the end of December.
Okay. All right. So Jimmy, just so you know that we're on in the meeting, and that we're fielding questions and talking about memorandums from the ministry. So next is the legal advice for victims of sexual assault program.
Yes, so the Ministry of the Attorney General has announced a province-wide expansion of the program for free legal advice for victims of sexual assault, effective May 1st, 2021. So initially it was a pilot program for Toronto, Ottawa, and Thunder Bay, and they've now expanded it across the province, and it includes up to 4 hours of free confidential legal advice anytime after an incident has occurred, regardless of how much time has passed. The accessing of the program is online or via a toll-free number.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Okay. If we could talk about the respiratory protection policy.
Eric, can I just jump in with a question? Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Bridget, go ahead.
Thanks for that information. Sorry, Jared, that announcement, and do you hear me?
You were breaking up there for a little bit, but it seems like okay now. So.
Okay, thanks for that. No, I was just wondering how we're are we sharing that with agencies and perhaps with anybody who may be working with women?
Absolutely. Yep, that is definitely information that's shared.
Okay, thanks.
And then if we could talk about the respiratory protection policy and program.
Yes, this guidance note was made to develop to raise awareness about the respiratory hazards, and they provide some suggestions and practices to develop a respiratory protection policy and program. And the regulation 833 is especially designed for industries that are aware of the potential for specific chemical and biological exposures that may be present based on the nature of their work. So what chemicals are present in the workplace and how are they used? So in terms of policing, where we become aware of risks to officers in the community, where there's a risk assessment has been determined for potential exposure, then there's a time when that worker may have to wear approved respirators. So for example, in policing, so we're not an industry that necessarily has this, but in policing, we have general orders pertaining to safe drug handling procedures, which talks about ongoing risk assessments that lead up to the wearing of the N95 respirator masks in certain circumstances. So the N95 would be classified as a respirator. Similarly, there's other situations that we're aware of that are based on risk may require specific officers to wear respirators, such as the forensic identification officers or potentially the emergency response unit officers and drug handling officers. And this only occurs after other measures are used to control the risk after having implemented, for example, fume hoods or those kinds of things. So the reference to the designated substance regulation and requirements is mainly applicable to the use, storage, and handling of lead, so such as gun ranges and cleanup. And so we do have policies in place, as well as regular air quality testing. We have a HVAC system testing, and it's dedicated specifically for the range. So what they're telling us in this guidance note now is that in all cases where officers are required to wear a respirator, then a respirator protection program is required, and the provisions of section 9 to 13 under this regulation need to be followed. And so the challenge is how to take this regulation designed for other industries and adapt that specific section to the requirements as they apply to the police environment. So this is going to be submitted to our Health and Safety Committee for review and guidance, and we are committed to obviously develop a respiratory protection program for those who are or could be wearing N95 respirators or other types of respirators. So in other words, we do have general orders that cover that, and now this is telling us that we're looking at having to put that into a respirator protection program. So that's what we'll be doing.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. Next is the increasing awareness about the youth cannabis diversion program.
So the youth cannabis diversion program was launched in February of 2019 and is a youth education and prevention program that's put out by the Attorney General, and it allows law enforcement officers who have reasonable grounds to believe that a person under the age of 19 has contravened to Section 10 under the Cannabis Control Act, which that means consuming or possessing or distributing or purchasing or attempting to purchase cannabis. And so law enforcement officers can refer the youth to this program. It's designed for youth ages 12 to 18 years of age. And the ministry has produced a short promotional video about the legislation and this referral process, just to make the awareness there again for officers. So in Kingston, our officers utilize this program by making referrals through the youth diversion program, and then that program becomes the source of referral that the youth can be made to this cannabis program. So it's an online course, takes about 60 minutes to complete, and it's one option that can be used now through youth diversion.
Okay. Any questions on that? Okay. Next is the 2021 to 22 and the 2022 to 23 Victim Support Grant. I imagine we're applying for that.
Absolutely. We're taking a look to see what we can utilize this with. It supports victims of intimate partner violence as well as human trafficking. And it's a maximum grant availability of $100,000 per year for 2 years. So we'll be taking a look to see how we can work with our community partners to develop a program for this.
You know, yeah. Let's see. Oh, by July 19th. Okay.
Jared, I have a question to the chief about this one. Chief, can you tell me that what kind of organization, the community organization will be partner in this program? Or we do have already the community organizations partnering in this matter previously?
So this grant is open to police agencies, and for us to be eligible for it, we need to partner with our other partner agencies. That could include our victim services. It could include the Sexual Assault Crisis Center. It could include Interval House. It could include a whole number of partners within our city. So there's a great opportunity to sort of develop something that's specific to our community that would be helpful in this area of human trafficking or intimate partner violence.
Okay, thank you.
And then there's we're going to have a restriction on Class A manual transmissions.
So effective July the 19th, people who are completing the Class A or A restricted road test in a vehicle with an automatic transmission, they will be restricted from operating a vehicle with a manual transmission. So that's just under the Class A's, not for regular Class G's. This restriction will be added to their driver's record. And as I mentioned, it's not for the Class G type vehicles, it's strictly for the Class A types.
As an example, it would be like an ATV?
No, a heavier vehicle.
The trucks, maybe.
Okay.
Larger equipment.
Okay. Thank you. And then there's a pilot project with the cargo power assisted bicycles.
Let me take a look here. Yes, the e-bike. So again, effective April 29th, a minimum weight requirement of more than 55 kilograms has been added to the vehicle requirements for the cargo e-bikes. And I don't believe Kingston's participating in this pilot project, so it wouldn't impact us here.
Okay. Very good. Then we have notice of the chair of the Zone 2 for the OA PSB hosting an event on September 16th, 17th in Prince Edward County. Okay. Do you want to comment on that?
So that's basically, I think it's notifying of the different dates that are set up. So yeah, as you just mentioned, that your zone is hosting it in Prince Edward County and in Ottawa in November. And then they've got some scheduled for mid-June, August, and October of the following year.
Okay. And then the last page. Then we want to go into the reports.
Yeah, so we have a presentation for you by Sergeant Harry Brewer.
Hi, Harry.
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Harry, we're ready when you are.
Okay. I'm just going to share my screen here. Oh. Can everybody see that?
No.
Oh, okay. Second. Donna, are you there? Screen sharing is
I'm
disabled.
here. Yeah.
Okay.
You might have to ask me to share a screen.
Okay. Do you know how I do that?
Oh, I might. Okay. Okay. Okay, you might be able to start now.
Everybody see that okay?
Yes.
Just as a little bit of an introduction, thanks, Chief. My name's Harry Brewer. I'm currently the sergeant in charge of our emergency response unit. Our unit consists of myself as the sergeant. We have 12 constables currently assigned to our unit, as well as 2 canine officers. The 12 constables are split up into 2 teams of 6, and we are basically a support unit for patrol. At minimum, our unit has to meet a standard for the province to train approximately 680 hours a year we spend on training. We're also the only unit within the department has to meet a fitness requirement every year as well. We're activated whenever there's any sort of armed resistance or any significant level of violence is expected. Then the officers who are working will go to backup patrol on those types of calls if they're not a pre-planned event. Some of the things we're involved in consists of armed people, hostage situations, barricade type calls, hostage rescue, high risk traffic or tracking for canine, high risk arrest, witness VIP protection, high risk court security, missing person searches, grid searches, and high angle rescues or repels. Broken up amongst the 12 constables, we also have specialty skill sets, which include anything from use of force experts, snipers, rappel masters, breachers, drone operators, armorers, search and rescue masters, and guys that specialize in less lethal and gas deployments. So that kind of in a nutshell is what our unit basically is all about. So I've been brought in today to kind of talk about our recent purchase of an armored rescue vehicle. I'm going to go through this PowerPoint here real quick with you guys. If you have any questions, please fire away. I'll do my best to answer whatever you have. It's a little bit of history. This isn't the first time we've acquired an armored rescue vehicle. We first had one back in '95. That one that we purchased was a used security vehicle. Again, it was purchased as a stopgap in an attempt to try and meet the growing need for officer and public safety when dealing with any sort of armed resistance. This vehicle was subsequently destroyed March of '98. In 2013, we tried again. We purchased a used armored security vehicle to, again, try and meet the drastic shortfall in our capabilities and meet officer and community needs. This vehicle has not been operational since April 2017, as it was deemed not to meet the ballistic needs for police and community safety. April 3rd, 2017 is kind of what led to that vehicle not being operational. When our unit does go operational, whether it's a high-risk warrant or a high-risk arrest, after we're finished, we do what's called an after-actions report that goes to our inspector. On April 3rd, the unit was involved in a high-risk event. I'm just going to read the after-actions report to you so you have an understanding of what the unit dealt with that day. So this is written by Sergeant Paul Doak, who was the officer in charge, the sergeant of the unit at that time. This was a full team deployment for an attempted arrest of a subject male who was wanted for attempted murder on his ex-girlfriend. It was confirmed that he had fired 2 rounds from a 12-gauge shotgun during the assault and was believed to still be in possession of the firearm. The subject vehicle was located at an address in Kingston at approximately 15:30 hours on the 3rd of April, 2017. An outer perimeter was initially secured by patrol officers under the direction of the watch commander and the road sergeant. Ryder responded, which is Paul Doak, and was able to block the subject's vehicle in with one of the ERU patrol vehicles, preventing him access to it. All available ERU officers, 12, and a K9 officer responded and secured an inner perimeter around the row house, and immediate neighbors were evacuated. The subject was eventually observed leaning out a second-story window, and face-to-face negotiations were attempted by ERU with negative results. Full incident command was initiated and the command post was set up nearby. The ERU armored vehicle at the time was deployed to the front of the residence to provide close cover for the immediate action and arrest team. Negotiations were attempted by the primary negotiator over the subject's cellular phone. However, he was not heard from or observed for at least 2 hours during the initial standoff. Eventually, the throw phone, which is a police phone we put into the structure to initiate communication, the throw phone is equipped with audio and visual recording as well. Was deployed after breaching the front window. There was still no response from the subject. A distraction device or a flashbang was deployed outside the front window, which appeared to stir and awaken the subject to promote communications. Eventually, he responded to a loud hailer request to pick up the audio video equipped throw phone. Perimeter ERU officers were authorized by the incident commander to disable one of the bright street lights due to safety concerns as it was backlighting their position. Negotiations continued through the throw phone when it was observed that he had picked up the firearm, the shotgun, and began walking throughout the residence. The subject appeared to be suicidal and very lethargic during conversations. He was eventually observed going upstairs to the second floor when a loud bang was overheard by the containment officers. Nothing was observed or heard inside the residence after this point. After a period of time, ERU were able to safely breach the upstairs window with the Irwin from a position of cover behind the armored vehicle. Officers were unable to deploy the remote robot due to some mechanical issues. Loud hailing continued and the throw phone calls with negative results, and no movement was observed inside the residence. Incident commander eventually approved a stealth search, and a 6-person entry team entered the residence and located the subject deceased on the second story with a self-inflicted gunshot wound. The residence was cleared and secured. Nobody else was found inside. Everything was left in place and turned over to patrol for scene security as SIU invoked their mandate subsequent to the incident. A little follow-up quote from Sergeant Doak in the after actions report states, "This call has initiated discussion again over the ballistic capabilities of our armored vehicle. It is unknown if it would stop a shotgun slug, the weapon of the subject. I agree that it is better than no cover at all for officers that were required to be in close. However, a purpose-built vehicle would be the best scenario for this type of call. Present day armored trucks guarantee protection for all high-powered rifles, shotguns, all the way up to 50 caliber. They also have built-in remote spotlights, a loud hailer, provide long-term protection from the elements, summer, winter, for the arrest team and canine officers. The ability to deliver the throw phone efficiently and safely, has breaching capabilities for doors and windows, and be able to safely escort evacuees from the scene, ability to access second-story exposures, the ability to deploy gas, etc. These vehicles are less than half what we spent on the command post and could also be useful, in injured officer rescues, cover support for Kingston Fire if they were required to move in close to a crisis point, etc." That's the end quote from Sergeant Paul Doak. Subsequent to that call, Chief Larochelle at the time directed Sergeant Doak to test the capabilities of the vehicle. So the screen you're looking at here is a cell phone video inside the armored truck. So if you can kind of see my cursor there, the vantage point you have is looking towards the back door of the vehicle. The back left corner of the video, you can see an orange mannequin that has police issued body armor on it. So the vehicle was driven to the range in a safe spot, and they fired a standard .308 hunting rifle into the side of the car. And you'll play the video here and you can see the outcome. So the .308 round penetrated the side of the truck with no issue, and you can see the body armor goes flying across the inside of the truck. So when we retrofitted this vehicle, we actually added some extra ballistic capabilities to it, but obviously does not meet the standard for what we be required for officer safety. So since that event, that vehicle has been parked out back and been non-operational, which brings us to the present. Kingston Police is extremely unfortunate to be in the position to acquire this used Campbell Black Wolf armored rescue vehicle, which will replace our non-operational one. This vehicle will vastly improve our officers' capabilities when dealing with armed individuals, both in an urban and a rural setting. It will allow officers to achieve cover where no other cover is available, allow officers to de-escalate and negotiate from a position of cover, and allow officers to move directly into harm's way to rescue citizens and officers who have been injured by extreme acts of violence or who cannot be moved safely from an evacuation standpoint. This vehicle meets all the ballistic capabilities required in a police-specific armored rescue vehicle. Over the last number of years, we have had to rely on our partners from the OPP on several occasions to bring their armored vehicle into our community to assist with high-risk calls. We have been fortunate at that time, the OPP have been available. The OPP Tactical Rescue Unit is divided into 3 teams across the province, each sharing 1/3. So at any point, they could be anywhere in the province and unavailable to help. Acquiring and having our own vehicle will allow us to immediately meet the needs of our officers and community and make timely interventions when necessary. This vehicle can also be used in coordination with our emergency service partners, the Frontenac Paramedic Services and Kingston Fire and Rescue, to move resources when required. It will also allow us to assist our neighboring emergency services. At the end of the day, this vehicle is all about officer and public safety. This is a picture of the vehicle that we have purchased. This is an old photo from a trade show. So the vehicle is quote unquote used, but it has never been in an operational state. It's been used as a demonstration vehicle, driven around to trade shows to boost the company's reach in the province and around the world. So it's a 2017 Ford 550 chassis. It's a 2018 model on a 2017 chassis, basically. It's a V10 6.8 liter, 288 horsepower gas engine, 6-speed auto transmission. It has roughly right now about 20,000 kilometers on it, and it meets all the ballistic requirements that we would need in a police-specific vehicle. This is a quote from the manufacturer, Campbell. They're out of Quebec. quote, unlike military tactical vehicles, our armored trucks are made to protect. Whether you need to keep a safe distance between groups of demonstrators, shield police officers from falling or throwing projectiles, or evacuate civilians from an imminent threat, our state-of-the-art trucks are designed to offer superior protection, keep threats at bay, and limit the impact on people. With advanced communications, tools, and vision systems, our vehicles are always up to task. And at the end of the day, our job is to plan for the worst and find the safest solutions for everyone involved, end quote. This vehicle also increases and boosts our unit's capabilities when it comes to any type of open air rescue. If we have an active attacker, hopefully that never happens here. This gives us the ability and increases our safety when going to resolve those types of scenarios and to rescue people that have been injured. These stats are courtesy of Jason Key, who's our Kingston Police Crime Analyst. Just shows over the last kind of 10 years or so, from 2011 to 2020, look at the right-hand column. You can see 2011, we had 11 calls revolving firearms. As it's drastically kind of gone up since 2017, 2018, 2020, those numbers are drastically on the rise. Number of handguns and reports has increased since 2011, as I said. That includes handguns, also rifles, shotguns since 2017. So again, numbers have gone from 11, 15 with respect to handguns, other firearms being rifles, shotguns. All the numbers are up. And with the drug culture, we're going to execute high-risk drug warrants, and we're finding firearms that have been unlawfully acquired. Sometimes have been lawfully purchased, but in the hands of somebody who shouldn't have them. These are some of the Kingston Police media photos from seizures, from whether there have been joint force projects or warrants that we have done, and we have acquired or found these firearms in people's possession. So obviously they're not just regular revolvers, everything from shotguns, sawed-off shotguns, to hunting rifles, rifles that have been modified, cut off to be short. Again, a lot of these photos include photos of drugs, because the drug culture goes hand in hand with some firearms at times. Just scan through these pictures here. Just gives you a rough idea. These photos are all in the last 3-4 years. This photo was from a joint force project called Project Sparrow. There's a high number of high caliber firearms that were seized. The one in the back photo here on the back wall, this is actually a 50 caliber rifle. And that's just a close-up picture of that. Just recently, last month, we did a warrant in town to assist a biker enforcement unit, where a probationary outlaw was arrested, and he had in his possession all the firearms that are on this table. Some photos from some services around the province. Top left, Barrie Police currently have an armored vehicle. Brantford, Peterborough, OPP obviously, Hamilton, Ottawa. One in the bottom center here, this York photo, this was the original, when this kind of all sort of having conversations with the chief about possibly looking at the timing of trying to obtain another vehicle to replace a non-operational one. We had reached out to York because I had heard that they were possibly going to be replacing their used one, which is the one at the bottom center photo here. They currently have 2, so they're looking at possibly replacing this one. Reached out to them in an attempt to try and purchase that one. Unfortunately, they had decided they're going to keep theirs for 2 more years and not sell it. So we talked to the chief some more, developed the RFP to see what was out there in the province or around who may have had a used vehicle available. And we were very fortunate the timing kind of came to fruition, and we end up with this vehicle here. So the top left photo, this is the vehicle kind of as it sits right now. The top right photo, that's the inside view of the vehicle. So it allows to throw, it seats 8 people. Now our team consists of 12, be a very few and far between where we have all our members in the truck at one time, but allows to move an immediate action team to get into a crisis point safely to go stop whatever kind of threat is in there. And then the bottom photo is kind of the gray color. That is the color of the truck. Once it gets painted, it will look like that. I'm open to any questions anybody may have.
Yes, I have a question, Harry. I'm Jimmy Hassan. You said that we have two vehicles. Is a non-operational sitting in the yard somewhere? That's what you said?
Not the first one that we had bought in 85 got destroyed at Kimco.
Okay.
The one we purchased in 2013 is in the back lot right now, not operational because it's deemed to be not safe.
Since 2017.
Yes, that's
So
correct.
we used that vehicle only for 4 years.
Approximately, yeah.
And how much we pay for that when we bought it the first time?
I don't have that information. I don't know.
And the vehicle you are looking to buy, another vehicle we are looking to buy it. That vehicle will be good for how long?
The manufacturer gives a guideline about 15 years based on obviously how it's used, maintained, but it should last at least 15 years.
And if I'm not making a mistake, I see that as a 2018 model?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. And what is any idea roughly what it will cost?
I have to defer to the chief and the finance for the costing.
Okay. All right, no problem. Thank you.
Bridget, did you have a question?
Well, yes, I do. Thanks. The costing is that was on the bottom of our agenda, right? So there's so I did have a couple of questions. There's $35,000 difference between the two quotes, and I wonder. So that we must have been looking at another vehicle. Did we purchase the vehicle you showed us already, or are we in the process of purchasing it?
Do you want to answer that, Chief?
Yep, the next slide is about the RFP process that went out. And so that explains that we came up with, when I go through the RFP process with you, it closed on May the 17th, and we had 2 submissions that came in. And there was an evaluation process that was done, and the Cambly Group achieved the highest score with the lowest price. And then pursuant to board policy, there will always be a tender process or expression of interest before purchasing this. Since the selected proponent was the lowest bid and achieved the highest scoring, this report is therefore being submitted for your information. So we have purchased that one because it met the criteria. It was a measured approach in terms of the purchasing and being used, but very low mileage and not being actually used in a situation, in a police situation, but more for demonstrations. And obviously in consultation with the sergeant and those are the subject matter experts in this area, that was the one that was selected.
Okay, thanks. So just being new on the board, I just wanted to just check the process here. So this is just coming to us as a board for information purposes only, and it was in the budget already that we were going to purchase this, and so do we have a minimum purchases that have to, or maximum purchases that come to the board for approval, or just what's the board process, I guess? Yeah.
So this fell within the envelope of the capital purchase that we had. We had an amount of $470,000 in our capital purchase for replacement fleet vehicles. So this was a replacement vehicle in that sense. And so we are able to accommodate that in this order, in this capital purchase. So the opportunity arose with itself. We've tried to purchase this vehicle using grant funding, which has not been available for us. The opportunity came forward. We were able to accommodate that within this budget process, and that's why we've purchased it.
Thanks. And just one more question. Sorry, Christian. And the scoring system, does that include a warranty?
The scoring system that was used was the type of vehicle, additional criteria including vehicle specifications, options, services available, good operational condition, prices and terms, and accessibility. Those were the criteria that were used.
Right. So, okay. So warranty wasn't, I did look at that and it didn't mention warranty. And I was just wondered about that because that might be worth
I believe there is one. I'm just trying to, Harry, did you?
I think, yeah, sorry, Chief. I think both the bids had warranties included in them.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks, Harry, too. Nice to meet you.
Christian, did you have a question?
Councillor Dora, if I may reinterpret your question, I think you asked whether this purchase met the $50,000 threshold for board approval or not. And so maybe the chief can detail for us whether it does or does not meet that threshold and under which provisions it would be exempt from that threshold.
Actually, the chief has approval of up to $500,000. And this fell within the envelope and it was a replacement vehicle.
Thank you.
Thanks. That was what I was after, but yeah, okay, thanks.
Very good. Thank you for your presentation, Harry.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And all right, so we're gonna move on, and we're gonna talk about motions. So we have two motions for Christopher and Gary. Can you talk to that, Chief?
Hold on a second here.
Gary Weir.
I'm just finding it here, sorry. The motion, it's requested that, subject to the approval of the Ministry of the Solicitor General, the board reappoint Christopher Daniel Nadeau and Gary Kevin Joseph Weir as special constables of the Kingston Police for the purposes of searching, guarding, and controlling of prisoners, providing security at premises or places occupied or utilized as forts, serving summonses, subpoenas, and other legal documents in the counties of Frontenac and Lennox and Addington, transporting prisoners and executing warrants within the province of Ontario, and providing crime scene security, as well as assisting with traffic direction under the supervision of a police officer.
So can I have a motion? Jeff, Jimmy, all in favor? Okay, very good. Do we have to do one for each? A motion for each person or a motion for both? Donna?
No, one is fine. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Then we'll talk about unfinished business, of which there is none, and any new business, of which there is none. So I would suggest let me move into camera portion of the meeting. Can I get a motion? Thank you. Bridget, Jeff, Christian, very good. All in favor? In camera we go. Thank you very much.
Thank you.